Andi, I'm so glad to have you on. Oh my gosh, welcome to Digital Ground Game. Glad to have you. Newest member, first week. How you feeling?
I mean, feeling good. I'm feeling motivated. All the stuff that's happening here in Minneapolis has kind of, lit a fire under me. I feel like I need to go out and do things. So yeah, it's great to be here.
It's wonderful to hear young liberal voices called to action. So tell me, my understanding is that you relocated to Minneapolis not too long ago. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I used to live in Chicago and then I moved here, some months ago, back in 2025.
Okay. And do you mind me asking, did you relocate to an area that's are you near this event?
Yeah, I'm very close to where Renée Good was, unfortunately murdered by ICE officials. It's kind of crazy because I mean, it's literally my neighborhood. This happened in my neighborhood. She was basically my neighbor and she was killed by these people. And so it's crazy to be out here and crazy how this has become like a whole national story. And, there's constantly, like different reporters and news agencies out here. It's just a very wild time in general.
I can only imagine how the neighborhood feels like walking through it. Is everybody, I mean, they must be so angry.
Yeah, people are very, very pissed. You especially feel it at the protests. People do not like what's happening. They came to our neighborhood. We don't want them here. Nobody wants them here. And they murdered, one of our neighbors. It's absolutely insane. And people are righteously angry at this administration and this, ICE organization.
And I'm looking at these really beautiful photos of the vigil that you took on the day after the shooting. And this is just like a regular American neighborhood. It looks like people are very somber that first vigil, very reserved and kind of sad. Tell me about what it felt like to be there.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, this is just a regular American neighborhood. Like this could be your neighborhood, right? That's like what's so crazy about this is, maybe some people listening to this, they're gonna feel like, this is all just another like crazy controversy and they feel kind of distant to it. But this is just like a regular neighborhood, right? This is just a regular American neighborhood. I wasn't expecting something like this to happen right in my backyard, essentially. And yeah, and you can see in the photos, like these are just people from around the neighborhood who heard about what happened and are, sad, and who maybe even didn't know her personally, but are still equally sad and you know and frustrated with what's happening. And yeah, you can just see you can just feel the emotions in people's eyes in those photos, and I think it really gives you a sense of the vibe and how people are really hurting. Yeah.
One thing I'm noticing as I'm looking through these photos of the neighborhood area is I'm not seeing any local police, state police, feds. Did they just let you guys be?
Yeah, so at least when I was there for the vigil, there were no police whatsoever. People had just taken it upon themselves to block off the street and to prevent cars from entering, and then use that space to set up different stands for like food and drink. They set up a little fire pit. They set up chairs and they're playing music and stuff. And of course, there was tons of flowers and candles and letters that people left for Renée Good. Again, many of these people didn't know her personally, but to just see that that sort of the community coming together like that for somebody that they didn't even know, I think it's really heartwarming. And I think also really importantly is, you know, the Trump administration is constantly trying to vilify the Somali community and paint them as these horrible people. But there was a very strong Somali presence at this vigil. There were tons of Somali people that were coming there to show their support. There was, one Somali woman that got on her knees and started praying in front of the vigil. At the stand where they're handing out food, there are people handing out like homemade Somali food and like homemade Somali tea and stuff. It's absolutely delicious, by the way. And so you really saw like the whole community, people of all races, of all colors, of all backgrounds, coming together for this woman who was slain.
And it's really beautiful to see the kind of the calm and the focus and the togetherness of that. And like as I move through the photos that you sent, you start to slowly see people get more excited. Like when you move to the photos you took the next day at the Whipple building, like there's a little bit more, there are a few more signs. There's a little bit more agitation, like the gentleman knocking on the window of the ICE or the maybe Fed's SUV. But still, people are like calm there. And as it progresses, you're seeing more and more energy from these protesters. What was it feeling like by the time it got dark at the Whipple building?
So by the time, so in the beginning, like during the day at the Whipple building, there were a lot more people. Then as sort of the day went on and, the sunset and everything, people started to trickle away. And so the people that were left were kind of like this most dedicated core of people, I guess. And I mean, I talked to many of these people. Some of these people came from all over the Midwest. Some of these people were natives to, the Twin Cities. Some of them, came from, another city in Minnesota. One person came from Duluth, which is like, it's far from Minneapolis. It's like in northern Minnesota. There was somebody who came from North Dakota. There was even one man who came all the way from Las Vegas. And so these were very dedicated people who travel, some of them traveling, very far distances to show their support here. But, everyone was peaceful. I didn't see anybody commit any act of violence. People were completely peaceful. They just wanted to, show their, righteous anger for what's happening. But they were completely peaceful, yeah.
Based. Incredible to hear. And like, how about the feds? Were the feds comporting themselves pretty calmly? I mean, the Whipple building houses quite a few different federal agencies, correct?
Yeah. So just some context. The Whipple building is just like this federal government building. So there's all sorts of agencies that are based there, but ICE is one of the agencies that operates from there. And so this is kind of like where they're headquartered in Minneapolis. And so all of the different, operations are kind of this recent resurgence in ICE enforcement in Minneapolis is kind of headquartered here, and it's kind of their base of operations. So that's why everyone was here. In terms of their behavior of like the federal agents who were there guarding the building, I would say it was mixed. So I heard from some protesters told me that earlier in the day before I arrived that a few individuals were arrested by them. Now, I don't know what the circumstances of that was, so I can't really speak to that, but I just know that is something that happened. And there's maybe even reporting on this from other news agencies that people can find. But while I was there, there was kind of one incident that was a little bit, I don't know, funny in a way, where they were sort of all the federal agents, they were maintaining a line, and they sort of like backed up a few feet. And then when all of the protesters then moved forward a few feet, they started pushing the protesters back and, deploying different like chemical agents to get people to move further backwards. So it's like they were like baiting them or something. It was crazy. So that was kind of like weird to see. And then later at night, there was one person who I guess got too close to the federal agents. She still wasn't like that close to them, at least from what I saw. And they started like roughing up and pushing her and dragging her away and stuff. They didn't arrest her, but so I did witness that. But I didn't see any protester like try attacking a federal agent. I didn't see anybody throwing things. I didn't see them try to like punch them or like commit any act of violence. All they were doing was standing in a location and screaming. That was basically like the extent of what they were doing. But
beautiful work, Minneapolis. Beautiful work. And then, so I want to ask about the protest that you attended the following day. I am seeing the energy at that protest. There had been enough time, for that sadness to really be processed. And it seems like it progressed into proper outrage.
Yeah, I mean, there were thousands of people. And, like I said, this is just like a very normal neighborhood, right? This it isn't like downtown Minneapolis, right? This is like just another neighborhood in Minneapolis. There's a large immigrant community, which is why people really care about this stuff here. But this is just any other neighborhood. And to see just like thousands and thousands of people out in the streets in a regular neighborhood like this, it was really incredible to see. And, a lot of these people were just people who live in the neighborhood who were showing up, right? As I was walking to the protest, there were tons of neighbors who were coming out from their houses to come join, it was really, really cool to see. So yeah, tons of just, regular, people who love America, who love the Constitution, and who don't want to see their fellow Americans get gunned down in the streets by unaccountable agencies.
And those are the people who will fix our nation. Who organized that protest anyways?
That's kind of the interesting thing. It was actually organized by, I believe, the Party for Socialism and Liberation. It's weird because most of the people who attended were not socialists, but they were kind of the first. They were kind of the people to basically tell everyone to show up at this time, at this place, on this day, and that kind of like spread through word of mouth, I guess. I only heard about it because somebody else told me that people were going to go at that time. But then I later found out that, it was this organization that, kind of put this together. But, a vast majority of the people there were not like socialists. There was tons of people waving American flags. The message from almost everyone was simply focused on anti-ICE. We don't want ICE killing people. We don't want ICE, dragging people out of their homes who haven't done anything wrong. Yeah, that was kind of the singular message of basically everyone there.
I'm sure it was fun for the Socialist and Liberation Party to have their message drowned out. I bet they got their Instagram photo ops though. Yeah?
Yeah, there was like at the front of the protest is where all of like the socialist people were. It had to have been like, it was not very many people who were there with like the socialist messaging. It was, a couple dozen people at the front of the protest. And then everyone in the back of the protest, everyone in the middle of the protest were just, regular people, not, socialists or anything like that. But yeah. So I wish that, obviously the socialism aspect of this, it's like a weird side thing. Very few people were participating in that. But I do wish that, I want a unified message. I think the message that people should come away with, that people should be focusing on, is rallying around the murder of this woman and rallying around getting ICE out of Minneapolis, getting ICE out of our cities.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what people should be focusing on.
And maintaining that focus it can be hard. Like you want to get into side arguments. And I mean, I know I am constantly getting into side arguments with people on the left where I just, I don't think you like, policies being practical. I think you like, feelings, etc. But like, it's really not, it has nothing to do with what the message is, has nothing to do with what the focus is. And I'm glad that most of that protest was able to really maintain. That's incredible.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I think even the socialist people out there, they also don't want this stuff to be happening, right? They also don't like the murder of this woman. They also don't want ICE, deporting random people who, yeah, maybe they're not documented, but they're hardworking, people of this country. And so, they also agree with the same message that, that the liberal people have, I guess. And so this should be something we should be able to unite on, I think, and not get distracted by like side arguments. And
True. I think that it's possible that at this very moment, I'm holding you up to leave the house to go take some more photos at the Whipple Building. Am I correct there?
yeah, I mean, there's basically always people at the Whipple Building, basically every single day. And so I'm going to see if there's anything going on there, if there's any interesting pictures I can get, any people I can talk to see, how they're feeling and stuff. But yeah, so that's where I'm off to after this.
All right. You stay safe, and I look forward to seeing the next batch of photos.
Thank you.
Talk soon.